Come on into the swamp. The water's fine.
Okay. We're starting there. Spencer, music. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to DM Writer's Room, a show where we demystify the DMing process by coming up with monsters, magic items, and swamps live. We are returning to the fair shores of Swamp. For those of you who do not remember, Swamp is our whimsical swamp-themed wonderland of terror, torment, and honestly, mostly pretty good vibes. We're not sure yet. We were caught between two topics, and we're going to see which one we're going to do here in the next few minutes. To give a brief recap on the swamp and what it is like, the swamp is a deeply magical and primordial place, never particularly successfully settled by man. The sole exception being New Chiron, perhaps also called Noric, a land where a second son to a great kingdom made a bargain with a serpent god to be able to begin building in the swamp and slowly but surely taking up a larger and larger portion, cutting down trees and, basically paving over the swamp. The assembled magical defenses of the swamp cannot come to their aid by destroying this town because of their deal with the serpent. We've met a couple of that band of characters. We have the Great Dragonfly, alongside that the more nefarious Great Leech, and perhaps the greatest of them all, the Great Catfish, all of whom are petitioned to by a wily old druid named Old Croak, who you have to take magic mushrooms and wander into the swamp to find and speak to. Needless to say, a whimsical setting. Now that is certainly enough for us to leave that area by. The next step would be to flush out 4 to 5 more towns and start talking about significant factions that are beyond those towns. Is there a thieves guild? Are there rogue druids? Are there other groups that they're interacting with? So if we stay into Swamp, we're going to be doing that flushing out work. We're going to be delving into some of the individual factions that we see there. Our other idea is that we leave the fair shores of Swamp behind. We keep it as a sort of thermometer of silly, and we begin to move into other areas of the world beyond, I don't know if you would say the shores of the swamp, the root-laden, watery areas of the swamp, moving to other places. Do we have an early and or particularly strong preference?
I would like to expand the swamp.
I think the swamp. You want to keep going into swamp?
I do.
I feel like the swamp has so many legs. Like it's got so much legs that we could make a whole world, and we could just base off the vibes of the swamp. I think we can keep it moving.
If the swamp is like a great millipede, so many-legged it is.
So many legs.
All right.
Tiebreaker.
Well, that's not kind of the idea, kind of the usual show breakdown. I really don't know. We could roll a die. We could delve into a new area. I'm really not sure. I think these both sound perfectly fine to me. It might be a good idea to sort of expand our horizons outside of... I'm worried that the swamp may have offered us what it has without us just continuing to name swamp bugs and to make them into deities and creatures. Like, I can think of some things, but we're starting to get into... Can I tell you what I'm really thinking? I'm starting to get into some swamp tropes that I don't feel like Googling if they're problematic.
Fair.
We're getting into the territory where I'm like, how long do we have before one of us has to Google, like, how legitimate is it to try to do a riff on voodoo before we're like, hey, we probably shouldn't touch that very real Haitian touch point. So I think maybe it is time to leave the swamp behind before we delve a little too deep. Okay. So what is another... Do we want to keep traveling along biomes? Like riding atop our fantasy steed Falcor into the sky? Like, is it the mountains? Is it the fields? Or do we want to jump off from somewhere we know exists? So, like, we have...
Like Chiron.
We have Chiron, this grand kingdom whose king just died, and in a sudden power struggle, the two sons fought over who would be in charge, and the younger son who was preferred was ousted for being kind of too bloodthirsty in his eventual sort of move for the crown. Or do we want to keep it kind of biome based and visit a mountain? Or I guess we could just stick Chiron on a mountain.
I was going to say,
Bingo.
we could do biomes with the kingdom, and the first thought I had, which I have food. There we go. When I think opposite of swamp, I think like Sahara or desert or something like that vibe.
Sort of an arid, dry kind of area.
Yeah.
Not typically anywhere near a swamp.
Exactly.
Sort of geographically. So that would mean that when that guy got kicked out of Chiron, he got kicked far.
Yeah.
He got kicked like far.
Yeah,
right?
opposite
Because
points of the map.
Because bare minimum, all we really need to think about, right, is swamps are where water and ocean smack. That means there's enough water upland that swamp can exist, which means that desert needs to at least be like diagonal as shit, right? It can't share the coastline. It needs to be pretty landlocked and pretty far, because whatever big river is making this swamp be here can't be there.
No.
So that's if we want to keep like that sort of arid. Another take on it we could do, if this swamp is a little bit closer, we could do like a sort of like a tundra type scenario, right? We could say that we're 1,000 miles to the north or something like that, and we could pretty believably be in that area. I don't know how hot the swamp was. You know what I mean? There are swamps
Muggy.
all over the coast. I don't know if it's like, is that a tropical environment?
Probably semi-tropical. I think it's like the creatures we described there makes me think that it's hot and humid, but not 120 degrees.
Yeah. So if Chiron is close, then our sort of logical options are coastal, alongside a river, or we could say that if you travel, that there is one big river to the north, and so if you go, northwest, you hit a desert. Small thing, very finicky. Not a lot of kingdoms in deserts. Hard to stay alive there. Hard to build a kingdom. Why wouldn't they have already expanded into this lush, green, well-grown, food-plentied part of the world?
That's the other thing that can cause desert biomes. Large mountain peaks around. So if we made it almost like in a bowl around with mountains around it, that could be like a fortress almost.
Okay.
So
somewhat geographically impossible, but it's a fantasy world.
yeah, the runoff through the mountains would keep it from being too.
Yeah, if we were in the
deserted.
basin of a large group of mountains, we have a name for that. It's called a lake. the big barren patch in the middle of a big circle of mountains is called a lake, and it's where you build it's sometimes where you build towns and cities.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking. I want it to be close. I don't want it to be far away, because if we're following an adventure path through this place and we start into swamp as our low level excursion, we're gonna hear about this place. We're gonna want to go there. Like, the Great Kingdom of Chiron. We have to end up there after this. So I'd want it to be somewhat close. Knowing that it needs to be close, the desert doesn't make too much sense. I could see craggy mountaintops as being the locale, or between a set of mountains in that bowl, and it's been built up around the water feature of a lake. So it's not a swamp, but it is like the Silver Lake.
Yeah, so if we're in this sort of very mountainous region, we learn a lot very quickly. This is a really fun little geographical study for those of you tuning in, doing your own world building, right? So if we're in a heavily mountained area, right, where mountains can do what we're describing. So there's two kinds of mountains, really. Some geologist is shaking their fist at the screen right now. There's two kinds of mountains, really. Number one is created by great shifts in tectonic movements. And those are mountain chains. That is like a line of mountains that almost looks kind of like a river that cuts from one end to the other and splinters out into all these smaller mountains. Those don't make a lot of basins just because of the way they form. Mountains that make a lot of basins are glacial mountains. They have been carved out by glaciers moving. Now that means that we're probably not going to have like a big unified empire, we're going to have a lot of small kingdoms that maybe are like united in that they maybe have been united at some point, because travel kind of sucks in the mountains. It's like really annoying. It's difficult. So my question would be, are we talking about a long chain of mountains, in which case our grand capital might be built into the side of the mountain, and they use the tributaries and water that flows out to the sea to command like 2 or 3 great ports that they can take ships up and down river, in which case they are probably a very powerful like economic force? Or is this kingdom tucked away in like a glacial, like carved out mountainous area, in which case it's going to be very different? They're going to have a lot of like fresh water. They're going to have a lot of animal pelts, a lot of wood, a lot of trees, a lot of interesting things there. Much less built on trade and more built on resources.
I think number 1, because after you leave the swamp and you get to the mountains, if there is a bunch of ports, it'll open up late game stuff, which is everywhere else in the world, essentially. You can go to any other point from Chiron. That makes sense to me.
Great. So so if we're thinking about us as having a coastline, let's make a snap judgment right now. Is the kingdom to the east, west, north, or south of the... If I'm into swamp, what direction do I go to get to the kingdom? Because we need to pick where the swamp is on a continent, and so I need to know what direction. Well, if you begin traveling, static noise, 4 days hence. It'll probably need to be further. It'll be like 2 weeks hence, right?
Let's have the swamp north, because we were kind of starting to call it North Chiron.
So north for Chiron, for the mountains.
All right, so that means that we're moving down to, if we're at like a semi-tropical swamp, and then we head 5 days journey south, that means this is like, we're toasty.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. All right, so that tells me a couple of things. If I was to draw like our coastline here, the swamp would be at a point where a very large, like a titanically large river outflows to the ocean. And then if you keep following south, eventually you hit 1 or 2 port cities, both of which also flow from rivers that connect us to this big kind of like citadel, right? This place that controls that trade. Things come in and out all the time. This is like a large, well-organized city that benefits from being there. That tells me a couple of really important things. Number 1, it tells me that we can do stuff. They can like build a lock, they can flood it to bring a ship up, and they can release that ship onto a higher plateau. They can drain it and pump that water out to push that ship down. So this is not like a really early, really underdeveloped group that we're talking about, right? This is people that probably the capital used to be one of these ports, and then it moved inland with the discovery of like big, exciting technology. It also means they have so much money. They control trade to the south. If you are not a part of this kingdom, empire, whatever it is, you're not trading.
There's a reason why the banished prince was so business savvy when he got to the swamp. And it was because of this background.
So we're talking at least probably, we want it to be, 10 plus days of travel. So we're talking about 300 to, 600 miles. So really, really a long distance to traverse in sort of a straight line before you hit these lands. My next question, big surface level stuff. Is this a kingdom that is seated in amongst a large political landscape? Or is this an empire's seat that has already spread across the south and takes up like a wide swath of many lands? Right? Is Chiron where one very impressive duke king, baron, whatever is, who controls trade and has that kind of like Tywin Lannister, like I have so much money that everybody does what I say? Or is it the seat of the empire, Old Chiron?
I think king. I think just king, not
Yeah.
emperor. Also, from James, the glacier is moving. The towns cut into it to prevent it from engulfing their towns and sell the ice down the river systems. I do like the idea of there being like a group on top of the glacier that does do the ice cutting to ship downriver. That is very fun.
And James
Yes,
now on my side has a top fans tag, and if
Number
that's not
one
true,
badge.
I don't know what the hell is. Hell yeah, James! I've
never seen that before.
no one's ever earned it more.
Nope.
Absolutely hilarious. I love that. Okay, so we like it as a kind of some sort of kingdom, duchy, whatever the heck. So now I have one more question before we delve into just what this place is like, because I think it's going to set up a lot. Does this person answer to a bigger, more important person? Right? Is there the
No.
King of France and this is some duke on some corner? Or are we kind of in like the free cities where we aren't united? We have people that which means war is kind of constant. Right?
I think war is constant. That's why there's so much jockeying for power, at least within this section. This is a large kingdom that spans several towns and keeps. But there are a bunch of other large kingdoms too.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be militarily more powerful, but this has got an armada. It's got plenty of money. It's defensible because of the mountains. So it's got a lot of benefits, but there are other strongholds that they just haven't taken.
It also tells me another very important thing, which is we are fairly early in the history of this part of the world, right? If it doesn't take too long for somebody to kill enough people that they're in charge and then rename all of the countries, like that happens pretty quick. So we are at least in a coming out of a valley, which means either somebody did have this whole place under control and then they died of tuberculosis and their kingdom crumbled apart and now we are in the free cities, or we figured out how to make grain grow like 300 years ago, and we're still kind of figuring our shit out a little bit.
I think number one, but we love a good sundering. We love a good, there was an apocalypse, and now we've rebuilt. The king turned out to be a lich. The emperor was a lich, so we killed him. Like, whatever it was, and things fell apart. I always think that's more interesting.
Yeah, and we did talk about how the last king for this kingdom was pretty loved. The brother that was banished was kind of favorited, but he's not first son or something like that.
Yeah,
we could have this new king be like almost an idiot, almost a warmonger or something that wants to go way more.
What we had as the backstory for that was that the second son was favored and everybody assumed that the first son was going to step down and like hand things over. And then the second son got impatient and tried to do a coup. And if he hadn't done that, he probably would have taken over. Now we already have him set up as kind of a bloodthirsty little jackass. So this other brother can be. My question is, why did everyone assume he was going to abdicate? Why did everybody think with total confidence that he was going to step down, right? Because saying out loud, I think the king's second son should take the position. That's not a thing you get to say out loud in a kingdom. That's something that gets you clasped in irons, right? So why did everybody go, oh, well, of course he is going to abdicate to his brother. Or I guess, whatever gender this first child is.
Here's what I'm thinking. Firstborn prince he's just not that guy. Number one. Typically, he's a bit cowardly. He doesn't follow in those footsteps. And they assumed he was going to step down because if he didn't, his brother would kill him. He was favored in many ways, but he's also bloodthirsty and willing to make deals with like the world serpent. So of course he would kill his brother to become the king. It's so obvious. So brother number 1, they're like, of course he's gonna step down. He's a coward, and he will be killed by his brother if he doesn't. So he'll step down, and he didn't. And then he was almost killed by his brother because he got a bit antsy.
So let's just.
I think that
You haven't.
when he almost died to brother number 1, I think that it set him off on a tyrannical death spiral where now he's just terrified. And to help prevent that scared nature, he's trying to expand and consolidate power to make himself feel safe. That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah. Now, my only question is, if everybody assumed that brother number 2 was going to kill brother number 1, and everybody seemed kind of like, well, he'll abdicate because that is going to happen. So everybody knew that was going to happen. Why, when he tried it, did they stop him? Why, if this first brother is like craven, and so my first thought, right, is that one of the characteristics of this country, this kingdom, is that the law is followed perfectly. That would be my first instinct, would be like, no, it just doesn't matter. Like, he should have assassinated him. That wouldn't have been a problem with us. If he had done it in a way that nobody noticed, we wouldn't have had a problem. So basically, option number 1 is the kingdom follows the letter of the law no matter what. Option number 2 is brother number 1 has a very powerful ally, and brother number 2 could not kill him, which is very different. It's not like the city guard stopped him. He had the backing of the people. He had the backing of many others and failed because of circumstances. Or option number 2, the kingdom has a very strict code of ethics that they do not mess around with, and breaking them, no matter who you are, even if you are some beloved figure, is instant social suicide. Like, no one would ever speak to the second prince again. No one assisted him after his exile. At the turn of a dime for breaking a crime, you can become an absolute pariah.
I like that because it's a big swing. I like that you become a pariah like that. Because characters coming from the swamp, the lawless lands of brackish waters, they're not going to expect that when they get to this place. They're going to have to try and learn new social mores. I think that's fun. So he got caught. Probably in the doing of the crime.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like
he got stomped out.
If we're talking about like medieval coups, right? We're not talking about the sort of modern, like 10 people drop down in a helicopter, move into a place, kill 9 people, secure 2 buildings, and the next morning somebody gets on the TV and they say, "This is our government now. I've disbanded parliament," right? We're talking about, I need to kill him. I need to kill every single one of his living children and relatives, all of their relatives and allies, and all of their children, and then we tell the people that the usurper has been slain, and we rebrand right away. And the average peasant goes, "Was this King Ethric?" And you're like, no, it was his son. What? When did King Ethric pass? And somebody's like, 48 years ago? We didn't need to tell these people this happened. Right? So it's a very different thing. So failing that just means when you rolled up with your boys, you got outplayed. Like you just didn't have the martial forces to do what you were trying to do. Or you got outmaneuvered in some very clever way, right? They went to wipe out the family line of the other brother, and those people had already been moved to new places, and they found guards waiting for them. In which case, brother number 1's a coward, but he is a clever coward.
But he thinks.
He is sharp as a tack. Or, like I said, it was just, like, dumb luck. The brother didn't get there in time. He wasn't tactful enough. What do we think?
I
Really
think
different
making brother number 1 outsmart brother number 2 into protecting his life is fun. I think that's great.
Yep.
Okay.
I do enjoy that. The idea that I like your idea much more. I would like my idea used another time though that I think is fun. we were going along the lines of why would everyone expect the brother to step down? The thought I had was something bloodline. I know sorcery can be through bloodlines.
Like bloodlines.
Yeah, and every king of this kingdom has been a sorcerer of such bloodline, and he just skipped that brother.
That's
And
pretty fun.
I think that could be fun for another thing.
We could also, yeah, so it totally could be fun for another thing. We could also flip it. If you wanted to keep it and we wanted to sort of help justify brother number one being this sort of like tactician with power, it might be interesting if it was like, we're getting into some real weird world building, which I'm down for. We did a lot of weird world building into Swamp. But if the king always has a certain number of sons, is one of them always born with magical prowess, and that son becomes the court mage? So like every generation has 3 sons. One becomes a court mage, one becomes the king, and one becomes the, master at arms of the house. Brother 1 is born a sorcerer. So everybody knows when he turns 18, he'll abdicate and become the court mage. And then before he turns 18, his brother gets the yips and tries to kill him, and discovers the folly and danger of trying to kill a sorcerer with a sword. And that's what happened. And maybe brother 1 did kind of whoop his ass. Maybe the thing that outbid him was that he just wasn't prepared to actually deal with a caster. Or option number 2, our grand lineage of mage lords is off to the north where James's glacier is. And we get there when we get there.
Do this. Brother 1 and Brother 3 were very close. And Brother 1 and 3, when 2 showed up to kill 1, jumped his ass. Okay. And they're like, you're not going to beat both of us. Even if Brother 3 is, like, young, but he would be the master at arms. He's been training martially forever. Not the same way the king to be was. Not the same way the sorcerer was being taught. But to be able to whoop ass.
Okay.
So now they're a strong partnership.
So I've got a way that undoes the sillies a little. So it's not that one of the children is born a sorcerer. It's that the king always has at least 3 sons. And of the first 3 have their lives planned and expected for them. The remainder are just brats. They're extras, right? They're there in case somebody dies. Son number 1 is supposed to become the king. Son number 2 is supposed to study magic and become the court wizard. Son number 3 is supposed to train with martials and become the master at arms. Son number 1 we have him as extremely intelligent, just started learning magic. And everyone else in the kingdom took that as, oh, he's going to abdicate. That's wild. That's the plan. Okay, cool.
But he's like, magic just rips. Magic is so cool.
And I think that brother number 2 learned when their father died. When he died, he learned that brother number 1 was like, I'm not abdicating. I'm studying magic to become a great king. And then brother number 1 and brother number 3's alliance leads to brother number 2's death, even though he was somewhat, not death, his exiling.
Exile.
Despite being somewhat beloved.
I love that.
How many, are there more? Is there 3 or are there 9?
Now that'd be funny. If there's 9 and every time you go to one of these like cities on the peaks, one of them is like also Lord Bracken. And you get to the next one, it's Baron Bracken. You get to the next one, it's Duchy Bracken. You're like, all right.
The Grand Duke of Canterbury, the second Duke of Canterbury, the third Duke of Yorick. It's like, okay, for sure.
There's a lot of you.
I feel like at that point we have an empire.
Not really.
True. I mean, it depends on how big
you don't understand.
A space you're going.
There's no good way for me to show it on stream. I'm gonna pull something up. I'm gonna pull something up super duper fast. Just to give a little bit of perspective. And I think I'm actually gonna try to get it up on stream as well. Let me see if I can find this exact image that I'm looking for. So I don't know if you guys have ever had the opportunity to see what a map of like here you go. Here's one that's fine. So I don't know if you guys have ever had the opportunity to see what like a map from this time period can really look like. All right, I'm gonna have to mess up our cameras for 2 seconds. Sorry, everybody, just bear with me. Okay, so I showed it to you guys. That's what a map of kingdoms looked like in France in 1400. It's, if you imagine France, which is not a particularly large landmass, it's like 55 kingdoms and duchies and baronies all crammed into this country. So when you think of a kingdom, you think of thousands of miles because you read fantasy novels and you watch Lord of the Rings. That's not what it's like.
We're looking at Normandy, baby.
A kingdom is like a city and a couple of miles in each direction, enough to feed the people in the city before it makes its way to the next city, the next duchy, the next barony, right? So we can populate a pretty small area with a lot of this royal family. So we have 3 key brothers. Do we actually want there to be a large number? Do we want there to be like 6, 10, 12, sons in lineage? Or do we want there to be, 5 or 7?
I do 5, and then we can make the 2 remaining. Like, one of them can be powerful in another way. One of them can be useful in some way. And more attainable to get an audience with than the crowned brothers.
Okay. So, brother number 1 takes up magic. Brother number 2 takes up the kingship. Brother number 3 is the master at arms. Brother number 2 attempts the coup. Brother numbers 1 and 3 work together and trounce him. They don't even kill him. They do something far more embarrassing. They exile him to the north. They send him to the swamp from this very wealthy but extremely hot area that they live, right? We're talking about, I don't know, I'm imagining like warm climes, this kind of area. I'm thinking like, I don't know, is the south of Spain hot? Like, that's what I'm imagining.
Probably.
Somebody get in the comments.
I'm thinking Florida.
I mean, basically, yes. We're more south of Florida, so we're basically like, imagine if Texas had a better river than the Rio Grande going through the bottom corner. Imagine if it had a big river going through the middle. Right. So this mountain chain is really what kind of gives this place its life. So I think that's all great. Drawing some lines there. So that's really pretty solid. So now we can get into the actual area that we're in, right? We've kind of solidified what the big conflict is. So we are in this long chain of mountains that swings up, and one of the tall peaks here near it, leads to a series of outflowing rivers that come down. And there is, at a perfectly chosen point, a grand capital that has been built that runs a series of aqueducts and canals along the coast, and in so doing controls a wild amount of trade. Right, they use probably great magic mixed with engineering to do this. It's a huge economic machine. This is the kind of setup that gets you eventually the British Empire. This is the kind of setup that eventually gets you. I'm thinking of some other famous empires from history that I don't want to throw out the names and be wrong. But I've got a lot of rivers. I've got a lot of boats. I'm in charge. I'm so sorry. We're just thankfully a couple hundred years before they can really pull that off. We're just not there yet. So my question would be, what are the gods? What is the mythology? What is the magic of this part of the world? Our eldest brother is learning to be a wizard, and that's what makes everybody think he is not going to take the crown. Who's teaching him? Are they from here? Are they from somewhere else? We're in the mountains in this hot southerly area by the coast with rivers, so I really want there to be stone giants somewhere. I want there to be giants in the mountains. Maybe there were. My first thought with the giants was we talked about there being a collapsed empire a few hundred years ago, and this is the people that survived and have spread. My first thought is It is the classic, like, giants once ruled this land and the mortal races were their slaves. We overthrew our masters and now fight for territory all of the day and the night. But that certainly doesn't need to stay that. It can be anything else.
I like the overthrowing the giants. It's always a classic in the mountains to have them be sort of an extant threat. Mythology-wise, I've got the idea of like a 3-horned stag or the 3-tiered crown. The hyper-localized deities is really fun for me. So I think that this area having a triumvirate of gods, and that's why the king has 3 children as a minimum. There has to be 3 for the 3 horns or the 3 tiers. And each one lords over wisdom and knowledge, combat and martiality, and justice and peace, whatever, civilization.
So we've got like a solid, probably law. So we've got like a solid pantheon then. So if there's only 3, then we're probably not going to do the whole sibling god thing, right? That's probably not what is happening here, where there is an all-father with many children and many brothers, and he slew his father to make the world or whatever. That's probably not what we're talking about if we have such a small... For the record, historically, pantheons this small are extremely rare. They're almost never happen. So then my question would be, what are these 3 deities? Like, what are they if they are these elemental forces that aren't part of a more natural familial structure that people could easily understand, right? My first thought is we go like hyper elemental, because it needs to be something people can easily understand, which is why it's usually a big family unit. But it could be the sky, the earth, and the water. That was my first thought, just because we have 3, and that's the 3 things that make up everything. Is the sky is the god of magic, lightning crashes down from it, fire crashes down from it, it turns green when there's a tornado. The sky looks magical if you don't know a lot about weather. The ground would be martial force, right? It is like the solid stalwart. It is always there, ready to be weathered down to protect. And then our king, counter to what you might think of being sky, is the water, because the water is the lifeblood of this kingdom in such a real way. It's like how they make their trade, it's how they make their money, it's why this place is so powerful. Outside of that, we could do the good old-fashioned, like, no, there are 3 gods, and we know they're real because they're here. And I'm thinking, like, that gets me into really powerful, like, kind of totemic, like it's Old Man Mountain, the spirit of the forest, the spirit of, like, locations that are very powerful. What are we thinking? Any ideas here?
3, it is still that familial, the All-Father, blah, 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 blah. It's just that there's been a schism and fracturing within the Pantheon that has sent sects of them across the world to, like, lord over that area. So the swamp has the spirits, the mountain has these 3 gods, the desert would have another 1 to 6 gods that are in the area. Sure. Whatever, something like that. That would be the other option that I could see.
Yeah, a question just for fun. In that reality, which I do think is fun, how did the catfish god end up a catfish?
It's a great question.
If all the gods... I think it's kind of fun. Like, if these are... I like the idea in this world, we say giants are functionally extinct. There's maybe 30 to 110 giants. Let's say, what's the genetic variance number? 1,500? Yeah, that's how many people you need for humanity to survive. So let's say, like, there's only 1,400 giants left in the world. They're completely scattered. Their people were swept away by the evil of their overlords, blah, blah, blah. So are these the gods of the giants who have been forced to take new forms and forge new divine domains? Or is this like a shattered god? I'm thinking like, it's very Sanderson. Like, was there once one grand over-god of the world who shattered itself that it may experience the wonders of life? And that's where we get a catfish and a dragonfly, right? It took on all of these aspects of life.
I think that's fun. It could be a choice, or it could have been forced upon the god by something, spell plague adjacent, whatever. And the god was forcibly split, or it chose to do a reincarnation of sorts, whatever. I do like that.
Sure.
That it was split, or it chose to split itself. That's super sick.
So then I think the obvious two answers here was the grand overgod shattered by his children, aka did the mortal races rise up against their their maker, or did this overgod decide that it wanted to experience life and so shattered itself into 1,000 pieces across the world that it might experience the world?
It could be that it is the natural.
Basically, is our setting grimdark or not? Like how?
I don't think it's super grimdark, given the swamp sort of.
Then I think it might be. I think it might be closer to like the self-shattering. The god of our world wanted to know itself, and so it broke itself into as many pieces as it could. What were you about to say, though?
It could be that every 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 years, the life cycle of the All God is that it gets shattered and re-experiences, and the gods in the separate forms take territories and fight and duke it out until there is one that is in charge of everything. They all come back together and become the All God again after experiencing learning and changing the world physically. Whereas as the All God probably can't do that.
It's really fun to be like, this is our world. There were many before it, and many more will come. This is our story, and you sort of live. And I like that because that gives us a reason to have powerful magic items in ruins deep beneath the earth without it being too stupid. It's like no. Those are relics of the last cycle, of the last time.
Could be anything. Could be laser guns. No
yeah,
idea.
Right? I like that.
Yeah. I would love to give a player, here's a hoverboard. What?
Yeah!
One of my favorite stupid fantasy tropes is describing something to your players in a way that's really confusing. And then eventually one of them goes, is this a fucking toaster? And you go, well. And they realize that is this a fucking skateboard? Like, they realize you're describing a normal mundane item. Okay.
That's very fun.
So then what are the three facets of the shattered god that live in these mountains, with the swamp far to their, not far, but with the swamp to their northeast? So, right, we're talking about a hot, humid area with lots of water, but also some dryness from the mountains. Michael's making a weird face.
Yeah, I do have an idea. Veto if you want. A three-headed Hydra. If it's an awful idea, it's all good.
Are you trying to fold our three gods down into one?
Yeah. Kind of three heads that have their own thoughts each, but it's just a thought.
Here's what I was thinking to honor that choice. If the three gods were separate at, say, the time of the giants, and through the conflict with humans, the gods, the god aspects, came into conflict with each other directly, and one of them was victorious, and those three pieces came together to form the Hydra, I could see something like that. So the reintegration of the gods is very physical.
I have two pitches here, both of which I'm fine with. One is these three gods are capable of going Godzilla mode and kaijuing into one big god. And that's where we get the image of the Hydra. The Hydra is something that exists historically because when the many mortal races prayed years ago, and the giants were sundered from their mountaintop keeps, a great Hydra appeared, like, created by prayer, and tore down the rock's nest of the high mountain, right? Option number two is each of our three gods is also, like, we have this things continually fractal into threes. So we have three gods, one of them is a Hydra, and the other two, one of them is a Hydra, one of them is a three-headed dog a la Cerberus, one of them is, and they always fractal into those threes in this area, just because it's like some divine number of the place.
I think number one, they can Mecha Godzilla into one big boy. because it's super badass to imagine that. And what if it happens in a campaign? You know what I mean? What if it gets pulled off and he gets to see the three-headed massive Hydra that killed the giants? So here's my thought. For these three gods to do this functionally, I think they need to be fragments that would get along.
Yeah.
They would choose to interact with each other instead of separating out to other areas. So they need to be somewhat related or have goals that are somewhat similar. So it can't be like Discord and Law. They typically wouldn't really go together. But something like Order, Life, or Civilization, shit like that. I can see all those going together.
Because
law
of how,
magic, law of land, law of whatever.
Let's keep in mind from what we've made true so far, we can keep it small, right? The Great Leech is a god of medicine and death for one corner of the world, like not for the entire world. So they don't even need to be their facet across all of this place. It is for this area. So if we wanted to do something like that, we could make them hyper civilization based, right? These are in the way that some of the other gods we've met are gods of the spirit and gods of the trees. These are three gods of the mortals. And so to me, I would imagine the god of the king, the like one that we associate with the firstborn brother, would be like a god of agriculture and farming, because that's what civilization is the first time somebody sows a seed in the ground, they have created civilization. The second god is a god of study and mysteries, of like unraveling the mysteries of the universe, and that's where we get our magic. And then the third is our classic like Hephaestus, god of the forge, who is also, there are sort of men-at-arms deity. That's like a really classic three that pretty effortlessly, like, to my mind, feel free to disagree, kind of like slot into each other.
Can you write down God of the King, God of the Mage, God of Arms, like something like that? Because that was super sick. I needed to put that out there. You said that right at the beginning. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And there's a reason why those three are what the sons or daughters become.
And what I like about that is any job falls into these things. Everybody will be able to pray to one of these three gods. And I think it's very funny that, professors and teachers pray to the god of the mage. Farmers pray to the god of the king. They jump to the front of the line. That is who their prayers are answered by. And I do think anytime that the gods go Godzilla, prayers are silenced for 20 years. No one is there to hear you after for a time. Clerics' powers fade. There needs to be, because as always, I need to know why Mechagodzilla doesn't deal with all the problems. Right? What are we doing? Why didn't Mechagodzilla solve? Wait a minute, we fought definitely not. We fought Shmiamat last time, and the three-headed Hydra didn't step up for that for the CR30 dragon, and you're like, I forgot about it. You could kind of have a reason.
He didn't feel like it.
Okay, so we've got these sort of gods of this place. We have our big central capital. Let's delve into some of our other big important places before we start drilling down on some of these brothers and seeing what they're like, and maybe learning a little bit more about these gods. And the gods of Swamp seemed far more spirit, right? The Great Leech's children, I didn't imagine there being any angelic leeches. I just think there are large, powerful creatures that would have celestial in their stat block that would just be basically a big leech. With the God of the King, the Mage, and the Arms, I am getting a little bit more like a glowing sword. Yeah. So we can get there. But first I want to talk about some of our other places. So because we have ships going up and down land, number one, we need some big, juicy port cities that are answering to the kingdom, who are, part, and for some reason haven't sought to stop answering to the king, right? For some reason they are all here. It sounds like the reason is the world is dangerous as hell. Like, it sounds like the reason is like, no, we've got shit going on. Like, we need to deal with other kingdoms. We need to deal with other people. There's leviathans in the ocean. We don't have time to fight ourselves. We can't. So
if this guy wants to be in charge, great. That's great news.
One less thing I have to do.
So what are like 2 or 3 other important locations? They don't all need to be port cities. They can be mining towns on rich veins. They can be places upland. Is there somewhere where ships are raised to get over a hill? You know, things like that are in real life make big important locations happen. Yeah, do we have any thoughts there?
I do want to go back to the idea of there being a town on a glacier, and that being one of the locales.
Sure, that's just
so far away.
Geographically, we are throwing north literally like 1,000 miles. So so there can be like a satellite state up there. What the hell happened?
I think that it's just they it's something that was there when the overthrow happened, and they were like, this is the beating heart of our thing. We need to keep control of it. And it's just drifted further and further and further over the thousands of years. And they've kept it symbolically, but I think that within the core of it, there's probably an important reason that we would have to discern. But for the kingdom, it's a symbol of the initial time they threw the shackles off. You know what I mean? When the giants were defeated way back when.
Still don't understand what you're saying. So what I'm saying is, like, geographically, the glacier would be melted if it was here. So, like, how is it? It would need to be
it's too hot.
Thousands of miles to the north.
I forgot we were in hot land instead of it being cold mountains.
We can just flip it. I can just take our map and go.
Cold.
And it's temperate here. Like, that's something we can do. I like the glacier idea. I just imagined the glacier was attached to its own kingdom to the north. We can stop talking about this kingdom and talk about the northern kingdom.
No. No need. Port town that lifts a ship and gets it to the next area, the next tributary. I don't know what the next cool thing would be. Mike, you got anything?
I was thinking a library of the old, like, they have some artifacts from the worlds before.
Oh, so like some abandoned giant's keep in the mountains that they have resettled and claimed. And like, I actually really like that. Wait a minute. I'm kind of into that.
And it makes sense for the god of mages, the god of the mage. This would be a holy site where people would go and say, like, you know, give me knowledge, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. So we have 3 locations. We have a giant, important port city that matters because it's probably the first city that was settled here. We have the lift, which is, I think, the place where this technology was invented that has made this kingdom so prosperous. And then our last is the giant's keep. And what I like about that is I think it's kind of like a mining town, you know? So there would be mining towns kind of spread all throughout where you would bring down ore, and then they would meet at big industrial cities where that ore would be turned into something more practical, smelted into iron, steel, etc. I like the idea that this is a mining town, but what they are mining is a giant's city. Like, it's not made... I don't think they live in the giant city. I think there's this city built on the edge, and people bring, like, grappling hooks, and they go into this abandoned city, and they find things, and, like, people with... I'm just imagining, like, a guy in the cold of the mountain with his hood up, on a sled with dogs, and he's pulling a book that's 20 feet long and 15 feet wide and weighs like hundreds of pounds. And they're not coming back with stone and iron. They're coming back with like great artifacts. I kind of like the idea that there is some equivalent of like the Valerian steel swords that the fancy families own, but it's we took the sword of the Storm King and we broke it into 25 swords. And like each of the great holds has one.
Oh, and
has
that's like
facet.
that's a whole like part of their army. Like they are the giant sword, but it's 25 of them using parts of it.
Okay.
That's
Giants
the Giants Bane. It's the King's Guard.
Yeah, each hold having one is badass.
Okay, so the Giant's Keep prays mainly to the god of the mage. The Lift prays mainly to the god of arms because it's a place of like invention, and the Port City prays mainly to the god of kings, and the capital is in theory the way they describe it to their people is you are the three heads and we are the great Hydra that protects us all, right?
Yeah, they worship the Hydra.
Yeah, the Hydra is the pinnacle. It is the thing that defends all when push comes to shove, right? Great. And we said we wanted them to be... So, we've changed a lot. Are we still increasingly militant? Is the campaign thread here that this place is changing fast? That, like, the stories that we're hearing are starting to get, like, there's smokestacks are billowing black air into the sky in some of these cities. The engines of commerce are turning into the engines of war year by year. Are we keeping that, or did we want to move in a different direction?
I think yes. It gives good forward momentum for adventures to have this be a kingdom on the precipice of war. They're getting all that shit ready. And it's fun thematically because one of the brothers is gone. The Prince of the Mage is gone. So now that, like, tempering wouldn't exist. And Brother 1 and Brother 3, the Brother-at-Arms and the King, being the two powerhouses in the kingdom, are just expanding without the mage there to say, hey, maybe we don't do this.
And I think that, brother number 4, who is completely untrained, was elevated to the seat of the mage. Is like a professional ballet dancer named Ponceval, who's like,
yeah,
I think we should build a school. And they're like, that's great, Ponceval.
build a siege tower. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Could we make him like a bard? Like,
Yeah,
he's
for sure.
he's got magic in him,
magic.
but yep.
It's so funny for him to be brother number 5, because number 4 is like, I can't do any magic, and 5 is like, I can inspire. You're in.
Okay. So I think we can do a couple of things to make this not too sad, because we don't want this to be like a grim setting. So we have some really important steps we need to take to make this not grimdark right away, right? We don't want it to be slowly devolving into Mordor. We are choking the skies with smoke so that we may forge a great war across this place and create the first great empire since the giant lords have come, right? He's not, I wish to claim the bone throne and be made king of it. It's like, no. So number 1, it's funny to say that this makes the setting happier, but I think it does. I think number 1, the old king died kind of young. I don't think he was 89 and his sons are 45, 42, and 40 and have been waiting and wetting their teeth. I think the king died when he was like 41. I think his sons are like 23, 20, and I think the Master at Arms is like 19.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're young, which
They're
is
young.
why things are so bizarre.
How did
Yes.
he die?
Fell down the stairs.
It's a good
I was
question.
thinking one of those books from the Giants crushed him.
It could be
Probably
one
not.
of the books from the Giants had some failed curse upon it that when it was opened.
Yeah,
fucked
I
him
mean,
up.
we've got two real options for me, given the setting we're making, right? We're making a setting that's like lighthearted, but kind of serious. I'm getting kind of Earthsea vibes, somewhere in that sort of spectrum, right? Option number 1, a foul curse fell upon the king. He died before we could do anything about it. That's great. I think that's fun. Option number 2 is that there is an evil vizier who wanted control of who has been manipulating the suns from the background, and we've got a guy that's really snake themed whose name has V's and X's in it.
I think number 1, because we've got so many brothers, I don't want to add in.
Come on.
I love a good evil vizier. Everybody knows this about me. I love a good evil vizier, but I don't think we can do it this time.
It's perfect. We don't need a second no. I've got it nailed down. The curse of the were-rat. The king's alive. He's a were-rat in the sewers.
He's a were-rat. If you find him and bring him back, everything's fixed.
He becomes the king again.
Yep.
Rat King, Rat King.
Rat King? Okay.
The first adventure is called The Adventures of the Rat King. The Curse of the Rat King, yeah.
I keep thinking of grimdark things, and it's just not helpful.
Because it's so easy. Grimdark is so fun.
I'm starting to learn that
with.
grimdark is just what you do when you want like a kind of easy up. Like,
yeah.
As much as I love a grimdark setting, it seems increasingly true that I'm like, because immediately my thought is I'm like, oh, the eldest brother brought him this thing as a present. And it accidentally killed the king, and why he's being paranoid and invading so much is he's afraid that somebody will discover that he accidentally killed his father. Way too dark. Like,
now we could just be like,
I don't think that could be in the same world as the swamp.
Like he just had a wasting disease, a questionable wasting disease that can affect the genetic line.
I need to know why a cleric didn't roll up.
So true.
It's a magic setting. I just need to know. This is the only thing we need to solve. Why didn't the spell remove curse remove the curse? Why didn't the spell remove disease remove the disease?
This kingdom has no clerics.
No.
The book could have been from a previous world, and that's what makes it dangerous, is because the magics that they have in this world do not interact with the magics of the old world. That's what makes delving into the dungeon so dangerous. Removing curse? No, bitch. That curse doesn't exist in this world. It just happened to be here.
It wasn't a curse, it was anthrax.
The kingdom is first edition. It's 1E. If the dragon's in there, breathe anti-levels. Good luck. Good luck.
Can't fix it.
Hey, you have 2 points of strength drain. Oh, there's nothing in D&D 5e to fix that? Yup. Your strength's drained now, idiot.
Exactly, and that's just what happened. They opened up the book, the king was there, he got fucked up.
So, genuinely,
and then they couldn't fix it.
Our answer is there are curses of the old world that new magic just cannot affect.
Yes.
Okay. My only other pitch, if we wanted to do something very simple, they brought a great artifact, a reliquary from the Giant's Palace, and unwittingly they brought a Lich's soul jar back. And if your soul gets eaten by a soul jar, you can't come back. You're capital D dead. I don't hate the idea though that it's just like there are magics that are lost to us.
I like there are magics that are lost to us, mostly because that's another hook. My sister was killed by a curse in the old hut ruins outside of the town. I'm looking for a cure. I need to go get to the giant's keep so I can delve and find an answer for it.
Yeah, God, we can make a whole bunch of subclasses off of this.
Yeah.
the old world mage, the old world fighter.
I like the idea that if we were making a hard D&D setting, this is where like wild magic comes from in this world. Is it's like no, wild magic is that untapped strange elder stuff. I love this in settings because it's just very addictive for me. I've had a scene in my head forever that, maybe one day you will play through, that I've wanted to do for like 1,000 years, which is a lich, like a Vecna type. The party is behind the walls of a keep or something, like a big wooden stockade wall, and this lich of the ancient world is alone outside, and they're all like, like, prepare. We know not what he will do. He'll summon an army. And the Lich is like, you have only the new magic. You steal spells from your betters and repeat their words like gravestone tapestries. And then he puts his hand on like these cut down trees and he goes, real magic needs no guide. And the trees start to like become undead and grow branches. And so like under their feet, the entire town basically comes to life. The trees become undead and they all have to run. I like the idea that it's like, no. Magic was fucking different. Like what we do is not the same. It would be like being when Elden Ring came out, they were like, this game takes place in the world after Bloodborne. And you were like,
what?
You were like, run that by me one more time?
What?
All right, it's very simple. Dark Souls was the first world. It ended, and then it was Bloodborne. That ended, and now it's Elden Ring. And you're like, where did the beast blood go? And they're like, that's old magic. And you're like, you think that's enough explanation? And they're like,
that's old magic. It would also be like them saying, yeah, it's old magic. And if you glitch into the bottom level subfloor devlogs, you can get the beast blood and infect yourself and become one of the ghosts of Yar. It's like, what?
What do you mean?
What?
It's funny. In a small tangent, but still relevant. MC Universe, Marvel, comic books. They do resets. They've done like 5 comic book resets throughout all the years. There is one character that stayed the same throughout the whole time. In the first set, he was like the sorcerer supreme, and he wasn't that strong. And then he stayed through to the next set, and he learned all this new magic, and he got stronger and started turning into an element. And then reset again. He, and along with a few other people, stayed, and then he just accumulated all this different type of magic that no one knew from previous resets. It's such a cool character.
Hear me out. If in this world a lich isn't a monster type the way we know it, but a lich is anybody who has survived that recycle and so has access to knowledge and ephemera and magics from the previous times, and they're just wildly dangerous and not really understandable because they're not like you, that's super cool. They're all different because they're from different resets. There's probably like 2 or 3 of them. But it's just like, yeah, they figured out a way to survive the cosmic reset of the world between the gods. One of them could be a regular lich, sure, but another one could be it could be anything.
It is fun,
and they're called liches.
It is fun that would almost be like, of all things, the lich from Adventure Time, where it's like, no, man, he's not from here. I kind of like the idea that the reason that the lich is dangerous isn't necessarily that they're like, no, liches are like inherently like they need to eat souls. We could scrap all that. We could not even call them liches. We can call them hierophants or something else. And it's like, no. It's just, he's not just from another world. It's not like the big hurdle is that the lich needs to learn the new common. Like, the laws of physics weren't the same. The air didn't taste the same. Like, nothing was the same. That world was fundamentally different from this one. And everything feels like static electricity and poison to this character. Like, they see you as terrible specters of the doom of their world. You are as alien to them as an octopus is to a normal person. Like, if you imagine just throwing a squid at a peasant, like anything, yeah, they would have no idea what to do.
I think that liches are just this world's version of aberrations. That's what it's just an aberration. It's so alien and unknowable. It's super fucked up.
That's really fun. I like it. It's like
so now that we've gotten into the weeds, but in a really cool way.
I don't think we really are into the weeds, because that tells me about the Giant's Keep. It tells me what it's like to explore there and what you're running into, right? So the Giant's Keep. So the Giants were the first people to raise a kingdom in this new reality, or they must be, because the stuff is there, right? And they were even, I think that one of the things that killed the giants maybe wasn't mortals, it was them trying to delve into the last cycle. And they unleashed some horrible curse on their people, and maybe that same curse is what killed the king. This, I like what you said, where it's like wasting disease. I'm thinking about like the virus that turns deer into zombies, where they just start to decompose walking around. I love the idea that it was like, no. They're like, now that the story's been told countless times and passed down through generations, they're like, we rose up against the giants. I like the players like finding some palimpsest memory crystal, and they watch the giants. They watch a giant zombie apocalypse that mortals then need to like survive as the giants rot.
That's what the Hydra mecha form did, was killed the wasting giants so that it wouldn't spread to the rest of the world. The gods wouldn't interfere with this situation because it was meant to happen. But when the old world started interfering with them, they Mechagodzilla and they killed the giants. Yeah. So the humans are like, they did it for us. And the god aspects are like, we did not do it for them.
I kind of like the idea that our actual, if we have like these wizards from the cataclysms, I like the idea that our arch-lich Vecna character is a mortal from the last world who now understands. I don't think the average person knows that the god of this world shatters themselves and recombines and shatters themselves. So I like the idea that our like big scary Vecna archlich is one of these beings from outside of time or from this time that like forcibly mantle one of those godheads, and the entire system breaks down because it's just not, there's no contingency for that.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Okay. So we have 3 areas. We have the gods that are associated with them. Up next, we can... How much time do we have left? We have 12 minutes.
12.
So we can try to delve into these 3 sections a little bit more, trying to talk a little bit about, what makes the port city unique, what makes these other 2 places unique like we did last time. Or we can jump and probably do like 3 bits.
Let's do 3 minutes apiece on each town for the really big picture. Each of us will give 1 fact on each town. We're going to start with the port town. Port town, the thing that makes this place so important is that it is, for this entire section of the continent, like the only easy way to the coast. Otherwise, you have to go through the mountains, and you have to go through massive forests and dry lands and terrible creatures. But if you get to this port, you can get easy access to the coast and get to the rest of the world, essentially. This is like the port. That's my fact.
Okay. That hugely problematizes so much of the lore that we come up with already.
Does it?
We said there was like 4 port cities, all of which traveled up and downstream, and that's why the capital was so rich. Do you mean this is the only one that has access to like the ocean?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it goes to the coast. The other ones all snake up into this point, and this point gets you out to the ocean.
Okay. So this is the main harbor, but there's other ones that can go up and down certain areas.
Yeah, this is the big ass port on the river's head, like river's mouth, whatever you want to call it.
It's the delta.
And the other ones just go further down through the ports to the rest of these areas, but it branches from that point, as rivers do.
Okay. I can make this work. So there are other port cities, but the water near them is shallow. A ship large enough to traverse the ocean cannot pull up to dock at any of those. There is only one port that can make oceanic travel, and it is this one. Okay, awesome. Mm-hmm. So we're talking like Port of London. Like, all right, what's the port? It's 2 miles that way to 1 mile that way. And you look and it's just 10,000 ships spread across a kind of impossible distance. Others are too shallow. So they still kind of dominate being able to trade up and down the coast. It's just there's only one real outflow, which also helps me know something about the continent, which is that it's difficult to get out to the ocean. I think that's really cool. Okay. So we need one more thing about the port city. Michael.
I have a fun fact.
Sure.
Another reason why this place is so successful. They don't use sail ships. They've tamed sea creatures that pull them.
Let's fucking go chariots, baby.
Yep, it is chariot
water
boats.
chariots.
Okay.
What those creatures are, I don't know at this moment, but they're cool.
Sea wyverns, whatever.
That is really
Giant
good.
seahorses.
Yeah, honestly, the second thing I was thinking was giant seahorses.
You gotta love a giant seahorse. I think we've done giant seahorses before. We just, you know what you like when you like it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, this is a toughie.
So I gotta say this: the idea of there being like an aquarium set up, like a gladiator style, and there's underwater viewing areas where it's all glass and you can see them racing, really cool. Anyway,
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to say the great and titanic bones of a giant are in the water of this port. So there's like a giant skull breached up against the side, and I think when you encounter giants in the world, they'll be normal giant size. They'll be, like 20 to 30 feet tall. This one is far larger and sort of hints to the way that the giants have changed with time. Like almost in some kind of like curse or after effect of this terrible wasting disease is the offspring that came after have gotten smaller and like less magical. But this body is
cool.
titanic and is buried in the waters.
If we set like the head up near the coastline, having it be like Gargantua's Cove, because you go in through the eye socket to be protected from like the winds and rains and torrential downpours of the ocean, is super sick. Cool.
Yeah. And I think maybe it like helps keep some of the monsters of the sea at bay. This like giant skeleton, they just don't want to go near it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, up
Very
next, we have the lift. We have this city of industry. We have kind of Epcot, right? We have their sort of, for those of you who don't know, Epcot was supposed to be a place where people would move in and live there and enjoy like the latest technology.
The city of tomorrow.
Yeah, it was the something city of tomorrow was Epcot.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually stood for something. All right, so what are some details, one thing each, about the lift, about this grand city with a unbelievably impressive piece of machinery that can lift a ship up across this like cliff face that cuts through the countryside and put it out upstream?
Here's mine. Several members of the remaining giant clan live in this town, and they are the people who turn the wheel to lift the ships. That is how they've earned their keep. And it's a city of progress because giants are kind of being accepted here for the first time.
I like it. Okay.
It's got magical lights.
Fuck yeah, brother. Let's go.
Go
ahead and slice off some more of that.
Yeah,
What kind?
Oh, they found a way to enchant. It's basically enchant light, but like it's a
Stable.
never ending. Yes, and
So
it's dim during the day and bright during night.
So this tells us something absolutely terrifyingly massive about this city, which is this city is in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution because the invention of the electric light let people work 24 hours a day.
Yup.
So this city is like a real force for change.
And it's so important because now the ships don't have to wait until daybreak. So there can be a constant flow of ships up and over, back down, up and over, back down, instead of stopping for 12 hours a day.
Yeah, the first mage figured out, it was nothing. And then as their predecessors saw, oh my god, no. This is best thing ever.
They didn't realize what they had.
And they did figure out how to make colorful ones, too.
It's like Velcro. One more.
Yeah, I've already got it. I'm just writing it down. Okay. The reason that this place had to develop this technology, the stress that made them do it, is there are a lot of mines upstream of this place that have plentiful metals, but there is no outflow that wouldn't like crash a ship up against the waterfalls of this place. So they had to figure out this technology. And I am also going to say that this world has steel, and this is where that steel is made. Right? Those great water baths can be used to quench it. I'm gonna have to look up if you can. I think you're supposed to quench steel in better stuff than that, but I think that's after you turn it into a sword. I don't think it really matters if you do it before a different way. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, fun is I've done some research on quenching and stuff. There is like a specific quenching oil that you're supposed to use. You can quench in so many other things. It can lead to like warpage and cracks, but I saw somebody quench in milk. It worked.
Personally, when I need to quench, I just use Gatorade.
Get out of here. Absolutely get out of here. Spencer's swords all have electrolytes.
If you quenched in Gatorade, it would smell like burning sweet.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, you'd probably also
they caramelized.
You'd sear a bunch of caramel onto your sword. Spencer's like,
yeah.
caramel, the candy blade.
You can quench in blood. It actually quenches really well in blood.
Supposedly, some ancient Viking groups. Viking is such a stupid way to say that. Some groups from the Nordic European countries accidentally invented carbon steel a little bit by throwing bones into like forging things as like part of a ritual. I don't know. I need to read more up on it, but I remember reading that forever ago. Okay, Mage City, the great abandoned city of the giants that was rotted away by the plague.
Here's number one. This place's claim to fame originally was not even the books. It was that they were able to get the steel that the elevator city now has to create by pulling out like massive war hammers and blades of the giants that were then melted down and reformed into human-sized implements. Now it has become like for the knowledge, but previously that's what they did, and that's why the other place had to step up their game. It's when they ran out of stuff to pilfer.
Interesting. So then I'll ask, so did they run out of stuff to pilfer, or did the lift ruin the game? All of a sudden,
the game is more fun.
Yeah, all of a sudden there was another way to get steel that wasn't ancient and unwieldy and hard to do. Yeah. Very fun. All right, so they used to mine weapons for steel. Now it's secrets and tomes.
Second fact.
Great.
Is one of the biggest laws. You can only spend at most like 5 days in this town, and you must leave. They don't want anyone living there. They don't want any long amount of time. You can come back and then try and get I'll call it a lease or like a right that you're allowed to go back after a little bit of time. But
hear me out. For the people that like the laborers, the ones who are meant to go in and grab things for the crown, I think there could be a satellite town, like village, 10 miles away that you have to go to every 5 days, and then travel back and do it again, and then go to it again.
Yeehaw!
Oh, that's mine. I'm gonna be filming a movie in a few days, and I needed a cowboy hat.
Yee howdy,
Nice.
she's got it going.
That's my green cowboy hat. So that I think that there's a satellite town. I'll just add on to your
Sure.
fact
Sure.
that bit.
Okay, so there's a city. We had kind of talked about there being a city outside the city. So yeah, you have to go there, and you are allowed to delve for a certain number of days. I'm gonna just tag on. I'm not gonna have this take up mine. There is a group in the city whose job is to go get you.
The rescuers.
Rescuers or enforcers.
I think that in terms of branding, they're the rescuers, and I think most of the time they're the rescuers. I think 95% of the time, some idiot got stuck in a cave-in. I think that the other 5% is a very different situation, like for sure.
Guys, we kind of made a safari zone, like from Pokemon, in our D&D world, where it's like if you get here, you get to find cool items.
I'm cool with that.
It's fun. I love the safari zone.
Oh, you know somebody's gonna say, How much wrong with those seahorses?
A lot. A lot of money for one of the seahorses.
I'm
And
gonna
that's
say
the 3.
I haven't given one yet. I was just
Oh,
tagging
yeah.
on to Michael's. I didn't want
Yeah,
that to
yeah.
take up mine. I'm gonna say I'm gonna just put a little mystery in. The living giants have tried to resettle this place many times, and they've been allowed to. They've been allowed to try. I think it's full, like, they just don't come back. And I think that that's part of where the date limit comes from. I think there's a fear that people are going to become strange, or that, like, a changeling or something is going to replace them. But I think it's mostly, like, people who stay in the city for longer than a few days, who delve a little too deep. They just don't come back. No one knows what's happening to them. The city should be empty, but it's not. My original thought, I didn't want to stick it too hard to a D&D monster that's not in the SRD. I was going to say that there are, like, giant Nothics in the city. Like,
I was just gonna do undead giants. Just
well,
they're
because
undead.
I was imagining that
wasted.
the like zombie ones were all dead, so I was imagining that there is like something else, and it's, you know, like Nothics, maybe aberrations. I kind of like the idea that I think all I'm gonna say is they go missing. If I was DMing, I would do the classic, like, the giants dug too deep, and they found something from the last world. And whatever it is like slowly multiplying probably, and will be a campaign end at some point. Or maybe it's this world's Vecna, you know, it's Azoriathath, you know, firstborn of the old world, and it's this ageless mage king who is still alive down there.
We could. This is more of a Game of Thrones plot point, I think. If it was that the giants uncovered old magics that cursed the giant race to waste away if they come into contact with it, and it's infested that kingdom. All the giants that were there became zombies, they were killed by the Hydra, blah blah blah. The ones who were outside got to live. Anytime they went back, the wasting took them over again. What's interesting about that would be the king that just died of the wasting disease. That would imply there's giant blood within the patriarch's line of the kingdom, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That, like, he came into contact with something from there and it made him sick. So now there's some thing going on with the giants where it's like, oh, he's actually part giant. I don't know what to do with it. It's a cool implication.
It'd be fun if there is, like, if being a Goliath is kind of common. It would raise the question of, like, how big is a giant? We're getting into some, like, sexual dimorphism in a way that's really weird, where I'm starting to have to be like, can you do that? Like, I don't remember what canonically the deal is. I think it would need to be
Giants have babies like fish.
That's bad. That's bad to hear. I don't want to hear that. That's bad to hear. All right, we can figure that out some other time. With that, it is 9:05. The mountains are, I would say, as magically interesting as the swamp. We made, you know what I'm most happy with? We stuck to big swings.
Yeah, we did.
We didn't back off
It's
the
so
big
unique.
swings. I hate the small swings of modern fantasy. Drive me truly batty. I don't understand. I don't get it. I love when we don't do that, and I feel like we've done a good job of not doing that. I will be extremely interested to see how this pans out from here. Maybe we will return to what I'm going to have to call the world until we can come up with another name for it, because that's just seemingly what it is. We got to swamp, we got to mountains, we're into world. It sounds like next time, if we do, we're going to the north, and we're going to visit James's glacial town and figure out what is going on far to the north of what
The
we've seen
glacier.
so far. The
The
glacier.
glacier.
I love the idea
The
that
Arctic.
I love the idea kind of a glacier that's not moving. James said the glacier is moving the towns cut into it to prevent it from engulfing their towns and sell the ice. I kind of love the idea that the glacier isn't moving, it's expanding. Like it's growing and
It got
clawing
far
its
enough
way
up
south.
Yeah.
Is there somebody got a drill going?
That's me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, with that, thank you all so much for tuning into DM Writer's Room, a show where we demystify the DMing process by coming up with monsters, magic items, and the mountains live with you. Hopefully you took away some lessons. I like to use geography and geology to help me build a world when I'm feeling lazy, and today was a great opportunity to kind of explore that. What does it mean to be near the mountains? What does it mean to be near a river? That tells you a lot about the people that are there and what they're like. I think we had a lot of fun with it. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. If you want to know more about what we've got going on, just stick around and you can see our sign-off page, but I want to give a very special shout out to the continuing good works that is the Prince of Charming fully edited podcast that you can listen to on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of your good and favorite places. Give it a listen, see what you think. Spencer has been cooking all day and night, wiping sweat from his brow as he gets those done. You can look forward to episode 4 coming up here in the not too distant future. We are 3 episodes in. It's a great time to catch up. I just wanted to shout that out one more time. Thank you all for watching. We will catch you on the next one. Peace out.